what I mean?
I
I'm
know, but I
listening
want
to
you to talk a
Kevin's
whole
point
lot.
of view. Well, I have to get to know Kevin first,
No, but I'm talking
because
about
if
with
I,
this chick. We need to like utilize our time very wisely with her.
okay, all right. So that's why I was hoping that I could find stuff that she's going to talk about.
Are you recording?
Yeah.
I will, do my best and try to ask educated questions and stuff like that. But
I mean, we're gonna basically do like we did last time and like start off where at the end of the episode last time we talked about George Floyd, the fentanyl thing, and then like what are her thoughts on that? And then what's the solution? That
okay.
there's so many divided opinions. What's the
Mm-hmm.
solution to bring both parties together and
Yeah, how do we get people to stop fucking fighting each other and killing each other? And like playing the fucking blame game. This is ultimately what everybody is doing, playing the blame game. It's the white people's fault. It's the black people's fault. It's the Mexicans' fault. It's Donald Trump's fault. It's Democrats' fault. That's all it is. Like
It's no
nonstop,
one
100%.
person or one party's fault. Like this is a thing that affects everybody, and everybody's had a part to play, as little as it might be. But that's why this is such a hard thing to talk about and point fingers and say who that. You can't say something like everybody's responsible here, because then everybody wants to know exactly what part did I play? How am I responsible? And if you, God, it takes so long to bring all the little fucking details in that might have like something small that any person could have done throughout their day that would have, been seen by someone else and affected their day. And then they would have treated someone differently, maybe based on how that affected them. Little shit like that. Like there's too many examples that go into too many people's lives to sit here and be like, oh, well, whose fault is what? The conversation would never get anywhere as long as that's where it stands. And you're right, that's what everybody's focused on. Whose fault is it? Whose fault? And that's why it will never get anywhere.
Yep. So,
okay.
and eventually,
Kevin
now
gonna
you had
join?
a friend.
What did you
You
say?
had a friend. Oh, go ahead.
Is Kevin gonna join? Because if so, he needs to get on. I have to go to the bathroom real quick.
Did you text him or email him?
Yeah, I emailed him things, but you need to text him or call him.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, again, what is the purpose for anything? Do you see what I'm saying? If nobody's going to change, then eventually it's going to get out of control. It's inevitable.
I think it's already out of control in the sense that, um, and maybe I'm being too cynical by saying or thinking like this, but I think it's already out of control in the sense that it can be reeled back to where there's a fair ground without taking a whole bunch of people out.
So, okay, so you think it's now gone, we've gone past the point of no return. Like, the only way to undo any of this is to start killing lots of people. Because you actually have to physically eliminate one side now, because there's the sides are so diametrically opposed, I think is the right word.
Yes. I see. I think there's three ways we can that can happen. And
Right.
what we're talking about happening is everybody being on the same page and eliminating things like prejudice, without evidence, things like that. The ideas that plague mankind is what we're talking about, like getting rid of those so that everybody can be on the same page.
Well, okay. So the issue is always going to be, you cannot get rid of prejudice. It will never happen. It exists top to bottom, left to right, A to Z, whatever. There's no eliminating it. You have to learn to live with it and how to minimize it. And the more divided we get, the more that fire is fueled. And it turns out very bad. Like, it's, to be, I guess, I don't know the word, but like very Nazi Germany-ish. You know what I mean? Because they're different. What is the big dividing line?
Can I unplug this and still use that mic?
You should be able to just use the headphones. It's going to pop up on the computer and ask you what you plugged in. Just check headphones.
So don't use the mic?
Don't plug the mic in, the headphone mic. So when you plug the headphones in, that little box will pop up and say, what did you just plug in? And it's going to give like speakers, headphones, microphone, all that. Just hit headphones. All right. Sorry, Billy. I'm listening.
Oh, you're good, man. But hold on, my garage is closing. Sorry. So anyway, back to like, how do we end? You can't end hatred. It's just not in the cards. There's no possible way to do it. We cannot end murder. We cannot end violence. We cannot end evil. It's not in our power to do that.
Well, see, all right. Maybe not in one generation, but if you look at science, man, anything is possible. Something like this, if you were to break this down to a scientific process, I was saying before, in my opinion, there's only 3 courses of action that would lead to basically the elimination of prejudice. But okay, one of them is you have to like physically kill everybody who disagrees with whatever the standpoint you're trying to get everybody in line is.
Right.
Which has been attempted multiple course history. The second one,
wait, you like cut out.
Where?
Like you said eliminated and then it was like blank of history.
No, he said many. This has been tried many times that people have tried to eliminate people who differed from them many times throughout history, and it always fails. It never works out. Like
but it
Stalin,
sounded like it
Pol
cut
Pot,
out.
Hitler. Oh.
Oh, okay. Well, all right. Well, I was saying that there's 3 ways I think prejudice can be eliminated and basically get everybody onto a level of solidarity that we're all talking unity, one love. There should be, we shall be focused on the same thing. And I don't necessarily believe that. I think parts of that, yeah, but then other things, no. I think we definitely should be looking at different shit. But the 3 ways I think to bring about that dystopian
Okay, hold on. Time
vision.
out. Time out. There's an echo. Like I can hear Jen's speakers. I can hear you coming through.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to see. Who the fuck is doing that? All right. Even if I talk this quiet, you hear the echo, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm like quiet in this mic. I don't know what's. Babe, can you see whose mic is going off?
I can hear you first before I hear you for real.
Yeah, I can hear the same thing. I don't know.
What the fuck?
Jen, are you using speakers or headphones?
Headphones, so it shouldn't even.
Huh.
Oh, wait, hold on.
Oh god.
Oh, whoa. Okay.
Son of a bitch, dude. Let me find a different pair of headphones, I guess.
Is this better?
No, I still hear his echo before I hear him.
Huh.
I've seen better days.
What can I do?
Wait, so does that mean that you're coming through? I'm coming through yours and you're coming through mine?
I don't know, it's hard for me to tell because I'm sitting right here. I can hear your actual voice and then I hear you through the speakers, so I don't know. But when I was listening in the headphones, I could definitely hear me, and I should be able to hear myself. But I can hear me when I'm talking. It's coming through my headphones, so it's someone else's. mic. Maybe you're picking my voice up, but that wouldn't make any fucking sense because it wouldn't pick my fucking voice up when I'm sitting right in front of it.
What if I turn the volume down on the mic?
If you can do that.
Dude, like I'd even think it would be funny to like watch YouTube videos of people and be like, oh shit, somebody talks about, be like, are you kidding me with this? Come on, man. Are you serious?
Is that better?
Mm-mm-mm.
You gotta ask Billy. I can hear both of you. I can hear you twice.
Oh, I can hear Earl well. I can hear Earl good. Jen, you're very quiet.
I turned my volume down.
Now I hear you echoey.
What about now?
Still echoey and far away.
Now?
Echoey and closer.
What about now?
Pretty clear.
It's
and
still
not
echoey. Not echoey?
No, you're not echoey right now.
Earl, you talk.
How about now? What do I sound like?
Earl, you sound right up close to the microphone. You sound good.
So I'm like literally having to hold the mic.
Let me plug my headphones back in and see what it sounds like.
Okay.
Do what?
Yeah, Jen, if you get too close, you sound
Like
what's it
this.
called? Yeah, they where it's overamped, distorted.
Gotcha.
Yeah, there you go. That sounded good. Like you actually sounded like a professional talker right there. It's like,
I am a
gotcha.
professional talker.
Yes, right there in that monotone and everything.
There's settings on the back of that mic. How do I sound now?
You sound pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jen,
I
so
don't
do
hear
you.
myself either. Hey, there's settings on the back of your mic, babe. There's 1, 2, and 3. Just try not to hit the cord, but that'll change which direction the mic is pulling sound from.
What about now?
I think you sound all right.
I am Inigo Montoya.
What does it sound like? Better or worse?
Sound good?
Better or worse than the first time?
Talk again.
La 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 la.
You sound really good right there.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Is that 3?
If you
What
back
about
up too
now?
much, you get echoey. That's good.
Now,
That's clear.
now you're loud. Like you're
Yeah,
clear,
loud and clear.
But like bad loud?
If you back up a little
no.
bit.
Bad
Turn it.
loud?
If you get
What was that, 1?
This is 3.
Okay, try 1.
It
I
was
think
on
3.
1 in the beginning.
Try 1 again.
La 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 la.
That.
you sound,
Yeah.
sound good.
Okay, go back to 3.
Wait, are you doing that because we're echoing now?
Yeah.
No, you're not echoing. I don't hear echoes.
I can hear me again.
Okay.
I guess 1 is it pulls from all around the microphone. 2 sounds like it pulls from behind, and 3 is right in front of it.
What about this?
That sounds like 2.
It is 2.
I mean, that sounds cool, but with 3, you sounded good. You sounded really good.
What? I thought it was 1 that I was supposed. Like this?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Is that the front of the mic?
Yeah, whatever setting that is, I think 3 is the one where it's it's pulling from the very front of the mic.
Oh my God, there are Trump supporters gathered outside the hospital. Are you shitting me, man? These like people are dedicated.
Yeah, so what do you think this is? Is this like a ploy for him to like get the vaccine, be cured, and then like everybody else should be doing it?
No,
that
because
he
I
found
really
it?
don't think the vaccine is not going to be as big as everybody thinks it is. Like there is no
Or a
fucking
cure,
way.
a cure.
There's no way people are going to accept a vaccine. Now
I had a client today that's just waiting.
For the vaccine?
Oh, hell yeah.
Man, I just think that by and large, because there's no like trials and stuff, it's just crazy to me, the hysteria that this is
Wait,
causing.
can I pause real quick?
It's Pause what?
You.
Hmm?
I need your camera on. And is Kevin coming or what? If he doesn't come to this, he doesn't come tomorrow.
He just said out of pocket, bro.
What does that mean?
He's probably like in his feelings about us, me telling him we got to redo all of this.
Are you fucking kidding me? This whole point of this whole shit is to not hurt people's feelings. And there's 2 people now that have done this stupid bullshit.
I don't know, man.
Tell them to fucking call in. None of us knew how to do this, okay? We're all learning. Seriously.
I told him, hey, we sent you the link for the room. And then like 20 minutes later, he texted back, out of pocket, bro.
What does that mean?
In general, it just means like it's not happening. It's not going down. I don't have what you need. He might not be home, but I don't know why he wouldn't have just said like, I'm not at the house.
What in the actual fuck is going on?
So, but it's.
Then what are we doing?
He was intended to be a guest speaker anyway, right? That's what his.
Right.
So.
But I just told Lorna about him to like, and kind of like, whatever. I'll just tell her, forget about the martyr guy.
Let me talk to him at work tomorrow.
No, because he's not here right now. And the whole point is we all are learning and we all need to figure out how we're doing this whole discussion thing. The discussion thing
Lorna.
needs to happen in a way where we are flowing and nobody's monopolizing a conversation. We are asking questions. We're debating.
Okay. Yeah. So that's okay. That's exactly what we need to do. Okay. We need to have an agenda, right? I hate to use that word, but that's what it is. Okay. Is that when she comes on, like what, first of all, what is the purpose of her, or even for us even to have her on? Like, why are we doing this?
I was under the impression that the reason we were doing this was because we already had controversial, speculative conversations, and we felt like other people could find some sort of validation in what they think, some things that they might feel, or gain a new perspective, or maybe even possibly change somebody's mind about something. And I felt like the only way we can do that is if we have enough differing opinions, bring like their backbone. This is why this is an important opinion coming from the people who hold them, and then to see it presented against people who have differing opinions, and then afterwards be able to walk away as friends, and it didn't turn into an argument. And this is the world can go like this too. Now I figured that's what we were doing, but I understand that we need everybody to be talking. We need not just like one-sided episodes of shit. Like that's
I was wanting to bring her on because, to be just straight up, I wanted 2 sides of the Black opinion. I felt like Kevin was like
he's from the street.
But it was like the woe is me stance, right? It didn't come from like history. It didn't come from like truly knowing what oppression is and what he's fighting for. It was more of a like, I feel bad for myself situation, not in a bad way. It's just
the one thing that I thought was neat about Kevin, though, is that he actually came from some kind of super inner city or whatever, and worked his way out, and now he's out into what Rockwall. So away from all that nonsense, you know what I mean? Like should be a shining example
but he feels
of what
out of place and why. I'm saying that's a good point to have, but on the other end, I wanted to have the other like more educated general reason as to why we are fighting this fight.
Who's we and what fight are we fighting?
The people who back I don't like BLM because it's a freaking but the Black Lives Movement, not the freaking corporation that is funded and shit by them. But like the actual movement itself isn't invalid at all. It's very valid. And there's things that need to be addressed, but there's also ways to do it and ways not to do it. And I feel like just
Okay.
it doesn't matter. I don't want to get into this right now.
But no, we have to get into this because this is the kind of stuff that, I mean, if you're going to have this girl on, that
No, I'm telling you why I want to have her on. She's an educated and like made it, dude. She made it. Right?
Okay, yeah, good
But
for her. And I mean that's fantastic.
That's not the point. I'm just saying she knows oppression from a different lifestyle. Even in that lifestyle, it exists.
What I heard when she was talking on the phone is like she could also bring you the perspective of what a lot of Black people go through and how they see all this, but at the same time, not only bring you the emotional aspect of it, she can give you numbers and history and cite sources to things, so that we're not only speculating on what could be the problem based on people's feelings. Like she sounded like she could bring us real reasoning behind things that we could, like dots that we could use to connect to other dots instead of what we were doing last night.
Okay.
Because that helps. I felt like the parts of the first episode that we did, the best parts of them were when we were talking about shit that we knew how to back up.
Well, yeah, you got to be able to back up what
Okay.
you're talking about, or you're just talking about nonsense. But so yeah, I'm curious because I am not in any way a fan of the Black Lives Matter organization whatsoever. Now, I do believe oppression happens, but I believe it happens everywhere across all lines. And there is definitely a major problem inside of the Black community, especially the inner cities. And what happens is taxes get so high that it's happening in Nashville as we speak. Taxes get so high, middle class starts moving out of the city, and the only people that are left are the super rich and the super poor. So that's the problem that has to be fixed.
Maybe. And maybe she presents a different point. And maybe y'all argue about it and still end up loving each other at the end of the conversation.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's going to come back to God told us not to live like that. For me, we're supposed to spread out, you know.
Right, but then Taylor had brought up a point, and she might say the same thing, maybe not, about like that's taking away basically from their movement, you know?
What do you mean taking away from their movement?
You're like bringing religion into something that's like more politically, I think, political.
So,
Okay, I see what you're saying, but I think the reason that that's even relevant is because see, it's hard. You can't just take the religious aspect out of it if that's something you factor in, right? If that's how it makes sense
Right,
to
and I
you.
get that too.
But
I want that to be brought up tomorrow.
right, but to everybody else, like you can't give them that as your reason when they don't hold those kind of things as important. See, there's more than one way to skin a cat. And if you believe something happens for, for a certain reason and someone else has a different belief than you, y'all's beliefs both match up. Like you both have found a way to like take whatever you believe and yes and no it to the point of now it makes sense, when I apply it to what I'm talking about. So I feel like, yeah, religion is an aspect that you have to take into account, but not everybody does, and they still make sense of the situation. So if you tried to bring it into the situation,
well, okay, so then it's my job, because it may make sense to them at the moment, but I have to show them how their story, where it does not make sense, where the fault in it is, or where the hypocrisy in it is, or
it could, but I don't
anything
think
like that.
that would be the one and only route you could go to doing that. Some people, man, like certain issues, like they don't want to hear anything about religion. To them, like there are practical aspects that need to
Okay,
be
yeah,
taken care of.
but when I see this is, I would never say that I talk about religion or that I bring religion into it. What I will bring into it is I will bring God into it. Again, and I will say that I'm not affiliated with a Christian group or anything like that. Like the ultimate thing at the end of the day that like we all have to recognize is there is a higher power. There has to be. If there's no, like if we can't figure out an agreement on that, then we're just talking to talk. There's no point. We're not trying to achieve a goal.
I hear you, man, but you got to be able to put that aside. Like there has to be a way for you to discuss these things with people that can't take bringing religion into it. Like they could have the whole conversation without ever mentioning religion. Like there's got to be a way that you can still like you know how like I guess be the bigger person, you know, if that's a good way to put it, but like you know that they're not going to be able to get, you know, if you bring this up they're going to lose their shit. But they are willing to discuss this and they are willing to explain their points to me, but if I, you know, if I bring up this touchy part of it, then it becomes, you know, then it's a fight rather
Well,
than
I
just
mean, I'll be very careful with people, you know what I mean? But I can't deny who I am, if that makes sense.
no, I understand that, and I
Yeah,
don't
I will be
expect you to just
respectful. And like, if somebody starts getting angry, no, I easily just say, okay, because I know if somebody gets mad, there's nothing else that can be productive from this conversation. That's
yeah,
it.
most people can't reel it back.
So, yep. Once the anger happens, be like, okay, you know what I mean? Let's move on to a different subject or let's take a break or something because like it needs to calm back down. Because, yeah, once somebody gets angry, they can't see things. All they see is red. So, and because, I mean,
I
they
agree.
feel like they're being attacked. And like, we can talk about that. I mean, I understand, like, this is a huge issue. Like the Black community fears police officers. But, I mean, look at the media, you know, like their movies and stuff and how they're portrayed and things that happen. You know, why not say, hey, talk to Hollywood and be like, stop portraying them like that. You know what I mean? Make them productive members of society and
but
things and
that's
stuff. But then there's
Hey, she's gonna join.
who?
Lorna.
Oh, okay.
All right, we're doing it.
No, she just wants to be part of the meeting part.
No, yeah, I didn't mean like we're doing the thing right now. I meant like we're gonna rub the belly of the beast.
Coming on right now.
Yeah, to like pre-talk.
Do you want to join this call? You don't have to do video. Do you want to like listen in? Okay. You can't. We can send you an invite. No. Okay.
Can she hear us?
Who?
Sharice.
She could for just a second. Hold on. Why you want to say hi to her? Hold on.
No, does she want to jump in, or does she want to be a part of this?
She said she didn't want to jump in tonight.
Okay.
She like got into the group thing or whatever. So here, probably maybe in the next like couple times or whatever, she might jump in.
I saw her jump in the Discord. That was cool.
Yeah. She's very cautious about things. She thinks about things.
Hey, no biggie.
Yep.
Oh my god, I'm so.
So it'd be cool to have her. I wish
so
she would come join the group.
I'm so excited.
I know you're tired.
Tired.
Yeah, she's tired. She's got to get up and go to work in the morning too. So it's just a shitty situation all the way around.
Can I put this?
You want the fan on, babe?
Everything's okay.
I love you.
Can you hear me?
Okay, I won't.
Hear you. Am I echoey?
Billy, you need to tell us.
Yo.
With the mic.
I can hear you clear. I can hear you loud and clear.
What about I almost called you Echo.
What made up ass accent was that?
It was half German, Scottish, Irish. It was kind of all of a mix. It was
I heard
57 kind of.
yeah. I heard the attempt at the Scottish. The Scottish.
The Scottish.
No, that was like back alley Scottish.
Yeah, the rough and tumble shit.
What do you call the ghetto of the English kingdom. I don't know. The
The
slums?
squire.
The
Or
squire?
slums. Yeah. And then like the little. Oh no, squire. That's a person, isn't it? No,
Yeah,
or
that's
the
like
Shire. The Shire. That's what I was thinking of from
no, the
Lord of the Rings. The
Shire is
Shire.
fucking
Lord of the
that's where
Rings.
Frodo and Bilbo lived. Like
Yeah.
Dildo?
Yeah,
Bilbo.
Fredo. I thought
Say
he
it
said
again.
Fredo and dildo.
Ah, say it again.
Say what?
Bilbo?
Bilbo Baggins. Yeah, that's the guy from Lord of the
Bilbo
Rings.
Baggins. Yeah.
Well, no, he's from The Hobbit. He's in Lord of the Rings, but he's the
Very
guy from The
briefly.
Hobbit.
Yeah.
God, I am so
Very
not
briefly.
this.
He's pretty much the reason for all the fucking shit. Like, it's his fault.
Yeah.
The ring would have just stayed down there and killed Gollum eventually. But he brought it back and then woke all the ring wraiths up, and the well, not Anne, but he woke the Nazgul up, and then Sauron woke the fuck up.
Ooh, the
Now
Nazgul.
everyone starts looking for the ring.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
What?
You guys all look so much alike, but like freaking gorgeous. I hate it.
Thank you. You
Y'all
guys
are-
are so nice.
I mean,
Too
I love
nice.
it. You
I
look
mean, I'm in the
like
middle of a hair thing, but
you look like Marcia.
I get that. We got that a lot when I was growing up.
A lot. You look
Lot.
like
A
for
lot.
sure. I told her she could join too.
Marcia's never gonna do that. Her like armpits sweat like Molly Shannon.
Yes.
Yeah.
I also was like, is she gonna be okay if I'm smoking cigarettes? Like, I feel like I'm so like
I live in LA.
I know.
People
But, like,
don't smoke cigarettes, let me tell you. They don't. They smoke a nice joint. That's what they do.
We do that too, actually. Do you?
No, I don't.
Really, have you?
No. I mean, I have when I was God, in
Younger.
my mid 20s. I like for the first time I smoked a little bit. Like there was because I didn't do drugs or anything when I was younger. That drug campaign really worked on me. Like all
Dare
that
to keep kids off drugs.
that dare really fucking worked. It did. I
Oh,
was
this
like,
is Billy, by the way.
"Hi, Billy." I was
His
so
name is
afraid.
actually William, but he's Billy in Texas.
Well, yeah, Billy is the nickname, right?
Yeah, but
well,
he
my mom
moved to
always
Tennessee.
wanted a kid named Billy.
Billiam.
Billiam.
There it is. Yeah, it worked. The drug thing worked. But hi,
I'm
how
Earl.
are you?
Nice to meet you.
Oh, that's Earl. That's my
Nice to
fiance.
Nice to meet you, Earl. Way to go, guys. Okay, I'm just following your lead, whatever.
We're just basically kind of like pre-talking about what we're gonna talk about, and I want to
Okay,
make
I like
sure
that.
that like things don't like get heated, I guess.
Nothing offends me.
I mean,
I'm
it can
totally
get like
chill.
okay, we are too. We are too.
Yeah.
But okay, let's just do it. Whatever. What were we
Yeah.
talking about? Because I wasn't
Yeah,
much.
I'll just whatever. We'll
Um,
see what we arrive at.
we're bullshitting about Lord of the Rings, but before that, we were
I
actually
like
talking
Lord of
about
the
something.
Rings. I do like Lord of the Rings.
Okay, well, I was explaining to her that if Bilbo had never gone and taken the ring in the
Yeah.
hot, everything would have been fine. He's the guy that started all the shit, and things essentially would have been okay. The ring would have just killed Gollum eventually.
No, he had to start the whole fight, and then there went Frodo. Had to get his finger bit off by Gollum.
Yeah,
That was the very end.
Terrible. Yeah, that's what it all
fair.
led to right there. That was it.
That's fair.
Wait, I have to ask.
Grand culmination of the story.
I IMDb'd you, and so how did you work on Get Him with the Greek, or get him to the Greek?
I was Nick Stoller's assistant. And
Who's
so he was the director and writer. He wrote and directed Forgetting Sarah Marshall. So I worked for him. Get Him to the Greek was his second movie. And my husband's good friend from college was his first assistant. And since we were all cool, she was like, he needs another assistant because I'm out. She was taking more of a corporate job at Universal. So I was like, oh yeah, I'll do that. You know, I'm ready to get out of TV because at that point I was still assisting a TV showrunner. And I was like, I kind of want to assist a director and be on a feature side for a little bit. So I met with him and he hired me and it was really fun. It was fun. Today is like my best job ever. It was like, I was still an assistant getting coffee and shit. but it was like so fun. We went to London, we went to New York, we shot in Vegas. It was amazing.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and in London, when it's on production, they pay everything. So I had a nice hotel room. I had
Oh
per
heck
diem.
yeah.
Had a per diem. I was like, oh, this just doesn't get any better than this.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Yes.
Living large.
I was so happy.
Yes.
But it's cool too, and it gives you a whole different perspective of the world.
Oh yeah,
You
for
know what I
sure,
mean?
for sure,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah,
I
we
have to
stayed in
say
Europe,
that's
and
my
yeah,
favorite comedy movie.
so fun. It's so funny. It was so funny.
Are they
I've
nice?
never seen
Are
it.
they funny? Like
Oh
in real
yeah, they're
life?
so nice. Everybody was so nice. Everybody was so nice. Jonah was so nice.
I
Everybody was.
always
We
want to call
always
him Seth Rogen. I don't know why I mix them
Uh,
up.
everybody
I
hung
always
out on that set. Everybody
I
hung
always call
out.
him Seth from Superbad.
That's so funny.
What?
That's
Like,
accurate.
I don't know. That's the first movie I saw him in, and I remember him only from that movie usually.
Yeah, the Superbad was funny. It was a really funny movie too. No, but
Get him to the great.
Seth's producing partner is married to Judd's assistant, Judd Apatow's assistant, but we all worked out of the same office together. So I hung out with Judd's assistant. And so she would always have these house parties. So funny story, I go over to the house and the movie's all wrapped and everything. It's probably like a year later. And so I'm hanging out at the house. I hadn't seen her in a while. She was like, why aren't you drinking? Because I do drink. And I was like, she was the first person I told. It just came out. I was like, I'm pregnant. And so then Seth is smoking joint after joint, just like, and she's like, Seth, you're gonna have to take that outside. I was like, Lorna's pregnant. And he's like, I'm so and he goes outside and starts smoking. And then I go outside because I was tired of being inside. And I was like, this is just weird. I just left. I was like, I'm making everybody move around. I was like, this is not good.
I mean, how like contact anything can you get from someone else smoking it?
I don't know. It was a lot. It wasn't just him. It was a couple other people. But I was standing next to her who was, we were all kind of chatting and just kind of standing together. So it was.
What about what's his face?
Russell?
I don't know.
I mean,
yeah.
Russell's awesome. I chatted with Russell more than anything else. And Russell's so funny because when we were in London, that's his hometown. So he got us limousine. He got us a limo. We all went partying at his club, whatever his spot is. I don't even know what the place is called. And we partied like all night. And he's so funny because I was married at the time. We're engaged. Yeah, no, I was married. And he was like, he wrote on my poster, he was like, Lorna, I know what it's like to see a happy marriage, but can you teach me how to have a happy affair? I was like, no. No.
Oh man.
No, Russell. That was a good joke.
So, how much like his character in the movie is he?
Nothing.
He's super smart, right?
He's so intellectual. He's vegan. He's vegetarian. He was a heroin addict.
Seriously?
He was very badly heroin addict when he was like 15. His mother abandoned him. His mother had an addiction too. He had an awful upbringing. He was a prostitute for a while. And so he really desperately wanted to have a better life. And he knew he could not do it with a drug addiction. And so he got clean. But like with most addicts, they trade one addiction for another. So he's like he's a sex addict. Right. So he loves to have sex with women, 3-4 women at a time. He just and he's very open about it. But
so
otherwise,
he is like his character.
Yeah. Okay. So pieces of him.
He is pieces of him, but he doesn't do drugs. He doesn't drink. He doesn't do any of it. He diligently goes to AA and NA meetings 3 and 4 times a week. Whatever city he was in, he made sure he found it. And he's just very cerebral. He's very thoughtful and so very friendly and so nice. And we always would chat about different things. And he's very, very nice and super personable. So there's elements of it, but the whole drug thing of it all, he does not do any of that.
But that shit was so fucking funny, dude. The Jeffrey, I cannot even.
Man,
and the fucking furry wall.
That whole part of that movie.
That furry
I had
wall was
never
amazing.
even seen it.
And the heroin in the ass, dude. That's one of the best. He's like hiding behind the plant. I just can't. That
At
whole
that-
movie is so fucking
Yeah, at that moment, I thought I wanted to be a comedy writer, and then I was like, no, these guys are brilliant. They are really brilliant. I was like, the
Seriously.
level of brilliance.
Oh yeah, shit, I can't do this.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, I realized my limitations. At that point, I just accepted.
Wow.
But I don't want to slow you guys up. You know.
Okay, I just had to ask questions because I'm
Of course,
fangirling about that fucking
course.
movie. That movie.
No,
is...
of course, I'm happy to answer, but I don't want to, you know.
Well, now that that's over, I can stop hearing about it too, because since she got off the phone with you.
Oh
it's-
my god, I've been
oh
freaking
my
out.
God.
I was like, I'm sweating. Like,
You guys are so funny. I'm nobody. I'm not anything. I don't even
No,
know.
I
I don't
know.
even
I just-
understand that word.
but you've like done this before, so I know how all over the place we go, and it's like not.
It's fine. That's the
it's-
best shows are like that. They
Okay.
kind of you find your way back eventually.
That's why when you were like, "What are we going to talk about?" I was like, "I kind of know."
Well, you just
but-
start out with one topic. I feel like if you have one
Right.
topic and then you kind of I'll just like I say, I'll just follow your lead and let you guys.
Did you get
go.
a chance to listen to the podcast?
I haven't had a chance because I
Okay.
jumped in with the kiddos really right after right after we hung up, and I was like, okay, I'll listen to it. And then
That's totally cool. Okay. Basically, it talked about the debate, blah, blah, blah. And then it got into George Floyd.
oh yeah, you
How did that
mentioned-
even happen though?
Where do you
Well,
want to pick up today? I mean, for the next one, you ended on George Floyd, but how do you want to shape it for the next one or for this?
Well,
next
like, because Billy had brought up, wait, no, that was the next episode. What I thought was a interesting point, I guess, is that Billy started talking about the Bible and how God said not to tell her.
Well, hold on. I don't know. That's I don't think that's something you really just start into. Like it has to. There's a the topic will naturally like lead into something like that. So, question is, I'm still like want to get to know you. Where were you born?
Yeah. I'll give you the brief synopsis, my elevator of my life goes quickly as possible. Born in St. Croix, Virgin Islands. We moved to my family and all of us were born there. We moved to, and then you guys can tell me a little bit about yourself too, I guess, a little bit.
Yeah, fantastic. Absolutely.
But yeah, I was born in St. Croix. I'm one of 5 girls. I'm in the middle. We ended up kind of moving around a little bit when we got to Texas because my dad was already there and doing construction with my uncle. And so they were sort of in Louisiana and Florida, and then they landed in like, I don't know, Lufkin, I think. And so we were in Lufkin, then we were in College Station, then we ended up in Hearn because there's supposed to be a power plant there. And the power plant never came. My mom was like, no, I'm not moving anymore. So then my dad ended up doing construction in Bakersfield, California for 4 years. So for the better part, most of my life, my dad was always gone doing one, you know, it was mostly infrastructure like power plants, cofferdams, all of that stuff, mostly infrastructure stuff. So he was always in different cities. So we never really saw him. And but he had a presence, you know, they were still together. So he'd come home on holidays, Christmas, he'd call once a week, you know, call sometimes during the week, you know, when collect calls was a thing.
Right, yeah. Oh, big old dial phones. 1, 4.
And yeah, just really stressed the importance of hard work. I mean, we grew up in a very rural country town and in Texas, so you guys know what that means. So there was a lot of the Klan was present, and it was funny because, you know, my parents weren't super educated, you know. It was probably why they stressed education. My dad is like the oldest of 13, and he dropped out of school in the 7th grade to take care of his family, take care of his siblings. My mother, she pretty much was like at home and ended up dropping out, I think, in 8th grade. And so she was, you know, that's just how it was, I guess, in the islands. I shouldn't say how it was because there's a lot of people who went to college and school, but not my parents. And so when they came, they didn't know American history. So they didn't know American history. They didn't know African American history. We didn't know American history. We didn't learn African American history. So, and they don't really teach it, right? They don't really teach history per se. They teach like summaries in school. And so we didn't really know. We didn't know about Martin Luther King. We didn't know about MLK. We didn't know about Malcolm X. We didn't know any of it. The name, you could have said Martin MLK Jr. and you could have said Shelley, meant the same thing to us. Like there was no context for any of it. So my oldest sister, Elna, who you know, she'll laugh if you ever mention it to her. She probably won't even remember, but she needed work. And there was a restaurant called Johnny Reb's Dixie Cafe. She was a waitress. She was a waitress. Big old Confederate flag. Oh my God. Everybody in town. And you know, it was a very black town, very white town.
Idea.
No
Oh,
idea.
yes. Yeah.
No. And we didn't know. The family didn't know. And they were like, oh my God, you know what you're doing, blah, 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 blah. And we were like, we're getting a job. That's what we're doing. We're getting paid. And the people at the restaurant reacted to her. But again, no context. And the owner of the restaurant knew there was no context. So he was like, you know, he didn't tell her either. He's not like there was some kind of education happening. No one told her. And so this one guy just hated her so much. She was like, oh, he just hates me. I don't know why. And then we were like, maybe it's because you're black. And he was like, we don't care. And it was like, no, it's because you're at Johnny Reb's Dixie Cafe. And he doesn't want to see any black people there. And so he was like, I'm going to give you a tip. And he gave her a quarter. And so she was so mad because apparently there was some kind of kerfuffle in the restaurant. She takes the quarter and she walks outside and she just chunks it at his head. And she's like, take your quarter. There's no context, right? There's no context for any of the anger. She just thinks he's being rude, right?
Right.
And that pretty much informed my entire life because there was culture shock after culture shock. My mom and my dad are experiencing things and they're like, what the fuck is going on in this country? They just thought everybody was crazy. Black people were crazy, white people are crazy. They were like, I don't know what's going on. Don't be around any of these people. It was just like too much to process because you grew up in an island, right? It's an island, it's small, everybody knows everybody, everybody's friendly, it's mostly all black. The white people who are coming to visit are very wealthy, but super coming there to chill. So no one's treating you badly. So everything is all kumbaya. And then you come to America where there's all very, very strong feelings about different ethnicities. And you're like, what is going on? So there was a lot of shock. And I think if they were educated, they probably would have been better prepared for it. But at the same time, there is a version where ignorance is bliss because people realize you don't know. And so then they treat you differently, which is a very strange thing in and of itself when people realize you don't know something that they know. And then there's like, oh, and then after a while, obviously, I took classes in college and was like, oh, this is the history. Like I didn't know literally until I got to college and understood Letter from Birmingham Jail or what civil rights,
so strange to me.
or any of it. Like you learn about JFK Jr., you learn about, you know, Reagan, you learn about all these things, but there's no context for it. It's like little tiny pieces of like, what does this all mean? And then when you actually learn about the fullness of American history, you're like, oh, now I know where to put these things. Now I know where to put information. And it's just a very backwards way of figuring out this country and its complicated history and its complicated government. But it you know, it's just all very backwards. But and so there's always been this thirst. So I got a minor in pre-law. At one point I was in ministerial school. My parents I grew up Seventh-day Adventist. We went to church on Saturday.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay.
The whole 9 yards. So I think my dad wanted to be a pastor. We were reading the Bible every day, Bible study every night. Like there was like, it didn't matter if you finished your homework or not. At 8 p.m., we're going to read the Bible and we're going to have Bible study every day.
Interesting.
Day.
Wow.
Okay.
And so that didn't leave me when I went to college. I kept reading the Bible, kept going to church. I left Adventism. My family still is Adventist. I was the only person to leave. But then I joined a ministerial school.
Can I ask like what the biggest difference in that versus just like Christianity or whatever?
Well, it's a Christian-based faith, but the biggest difference is they just believe that the Sabbath is the seventh day to worship, and that modern day Sunday believers have deviated from that. And there's a lot of things and customs and traditions that are very Jewish-like.
I was just going to say that.
Levitical dietary law, the wearing skirts and not pants. There's a lot of things when I talked to, this is, a big Jewish community in California that I got to be friends with. And they were like, who's the founder of this religion? Because they're like, this founder has to be Jewish. Like,
right.
like,
yeah, I was just thinking that because I was like, wait, this sounds like exactly what I was raised like.
Yes, yes, it's like Christian Jewish, like it's Christian Judaism, like it's a very strange thing. But I was like, I didn't know that until I moved to LA, and at that point, I had already left Adventism and was like just non-denominational, and I had joined a non-denominational church in Texas. And so when I moved to LA, I just kind of kept that going. But I ended up, strangely enough, at a Methodist church. And I know their doctrine is different, but at some point I was like, I'm really not hung up on the doctrine of churches. I think doctrine, it contains God, and he's so much bigger than a church doctrine. I think we put God in a very, 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 very small, tiny box because it suits us and because we're man, and man is small and we think small, and God doesn't think like we do. But we want him to think like us. We don't think like him. And so I just kind of abandoned the idea of doctrine altogether. So I just go to wherever I think somebody's preaching the word and preaching the Bible, because I think a lot of people preach whatever they want to preach. And I don't really want to I want to hear them preach the word. I want to hear the word. I have a relationship with God. So I'll, I don't mind an opinion, but I don't like, where's your opinion coming from? If you're only speaking an opinion, then that's not God. Like, there should be some prayer to it. There should be the opinion attached to a scripture. There should be there should be something, some depth to whatever your thought is, so that I know it's tethered to a deeper thing that God has informed you of, not just because you saw a sign on a billboard and like, that was your scripture. I mean, I get being inspired by things, but I don't know. I don't know. But I feel like in your spirit, if you're a prayerful person, when you listen to somebody speak, you get a sense of, okay, you're a faithful person, or you're just talking.
Right.
And I always wanted to be a writer. That's how I ended up in LA. I always wanted to be a writer. My mom was like, writing is a hobby. And I was like, no, it's not. But I believed her, and I spent a lot of time trying to go to law school. And then I got my teaching certificate. And then I was like, somewhere in at the end of college, I was like, are you really going to be a lawyer? And it was like, God, what am I going to do, Lord? And I just started praying, and I was like, okay, I'm going to do this writing thing. And I was like, Lord, okay, if I'm going to do this, you gotta help me. And just things just started opening up, and doors started opening up. And I was like, okay, I'm not ready to go to California. That's a whole other can of paint. And I'm not ready for that, because it's more than just being a writer. It's like the politics of being in a city where it's kind of ruled by a lot of lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes, pride of life, all of those things. And you really have to be prepared for that, not the job. And so I just kind of took my time, stayed in Texas, stayed in Dallas. And then I was like, okay, it's time, God. And then it really was God telling me it's time. It wasn't me telling God. It was like one moment, it was like, I'm not leaving. And I told my mom, she was like, are you going to California? No. And like literally the next month, God was like, it's time. And I was like, okay, I'm going. And I was just like, sold all my stuff, threw everything away, put everything in the car and drove out. So that was that. And then finally I'm writing now.
That's freaking awesome.
That's the story. It's just grace. It's grace. God's grace.
Okay. And are you living in Canada right now?
Yeah, I'm in Canada right now, only because my husband works in Canada, and usually he is, he's a producer director on Star Trek, and they shoot out here. That's cool. And usually I stay in California, but because the kids are online Zooming, California did not open up their schools. Praise the Lord. We're able to stay together. So that's been very, very nice.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
Pretty nice. Yeah.
So that's my deal.
All right. Well, fantastic. And so you grew up your small town. Well, before I start pelting you with questions and anything like that, is there anything you want to know, like about us or?
Yeah. How do you? Where are you? Are you from Texas, Billy? Are you from are you from another southern state? I feel like she
I
told
am
me, and I.
yeah, no, I am from Texas. I was born in Fort Worth at Air
Oh,
Force Base. Yep.
oh,
Um, I pretty much grew up in Mart, Texas, and I don't know if you know where that's at, but it's a little town right outside of Waco.
oh,
And
yeah.
yeah,
Mart,
True,
Texas.
true.
Mart, Texas. Yep. And I um, grew up very humble. I Waco was a very big place to me. Waco was terrifying to me. I could not even imagine Dallas. I think I went to Dallas 2 or 3 times in my life growing up.
Wow.
And Houston was like one time, and like these places absolutely terrified me. And then I joined the Navy when I was 18 years old. 2 weeks after I graduated high school, I went to the Navy. Terrified. I got sent to Dallas on a Greyhound bus.
Oh my gosh.
Yep. And I mean, you've ever been in a bus station, the kind of stuff that looks like a bus station.
Oh yeah.
And some, naive kid from Podunk backwoods, Texas, don't have any idea about life in the world. So go off to the Navy, go to boot camp, have a great time. I end up in Pensacola, Florida,
Okay, yeah.
where I went to school and everything. And then from there, I went to Groton, Connecticut, and I was in submarines, rowed submarines, and did stuff like that.
Wow, that's so
Went
cool.
all over the world. I've been to like Greece and Spain and Bahrain. I've been over to the Middle East and all that stuff, and
Nice.
just see the world very
Mm.
differently than a lot of people. So it's very difficult to have conversations with people who have never been outside of their
Ooh.
small town.
Yes.
They don't understand how much bigger the world is than where they're at. So that's my quick rundown. Oh, well, also I'll tell you,
What? No.
I was a Baptist. I started going to church probably 13, 14. I was not raised in the church at all. We never talked about God. We never prayed, did anything like that. And I ended up going on a Wednesday, and we had a really great youth pastor and stuff. And I got really interested in things. And pretty much from there, it's been a journey for me trying to find the truth. And I've pretty much left the Christian faith altogether. And I more Jewish. So it's kind of funny that you said Seventh-day Adventist, because there's things about that, but there's a much bigger picture going on with God. And I completely agree with you that we as humans have put him inside of a box and told him what he is instead of letting him tell us what he is. So, but all right, I'm done now. I'm sorry.
That was all good.
Okay. I'll go quick.
Earl. Or yeah, Jen, tell me.
I grew up in Richardson, Texas, which is like where I'm living right now. In like a very white neighborhood. Like my elementary school had one black girl that I'm still friends with, and she got kicked out in 4th grade for bad behavior. So but then I went to a junior high, which my daughter goes to now. And it was like, bam, Mexicans, black guys. Okay, now so in elementary school, I was like fat because I was like a size 12 or whatever in like 5th or 6th grade. And it was all white guys, right? So I get to junior high and they're like, okay with it because they're not white. So I was like immediately drawn to like any other culture than white guys, like because I was also boy crazy as fuck. So like, and then my dad started making me go to temple, I feel like in like 4th grade.
Wow.
But we always did like the holidays and stuff like that, but we did Christmas and Hanukkah and Easter and Passover, like everything.
Yom Kippur.
Yep.
Don't...
Yep. Rosh Hashanah.
Rosh Hashanah.
So Okay, there's a lot, so I'm trying to like do key points.
It's okay.
Let's
hear it.
My parents got divorced when we were like 12.
Wow.
And my mom turned to doing like tarot cards, palm reading, like astrology, all that stuff. Would get her like astrology chart for the beginning of the year, crystals, and all of it. And I mean, as a kid, I was like, it's kind of cool. It was kind of embarrassing because she's like way extra sometimes. And so, but it was kind of cool because we would go to this place called Islands that was just like a restaurant. And
Hey,
it
Jen,
had, what?
Jen, you're starting to echo. I
Am
don't know if
I?
you're too
I
far
think
away.
it's 'cause
Yeah.
I need to hold it over here again. Is it better?
Okay.
It's okay.
Start talking. No, still an echo.
Hello?
That's pretty good.
Now?
Yeah.
Now?
That sounded good.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. My mom would take us to this place called Islands, and there were these hot waiter guys, and she would like read their palms for free. So I was like swooning at the freaking table, like, oh my God. So that part was cool. But then she went like super crazy Christian. Like, well, to me, it was crazy Christian, like, because that was not happening before. And so yeah, she's Christian. My dad's Jewish. Now she says, like, I'm going to hell if I don't accept Jesus as the Messiah. And I'm like, okay, you converted to Judaism, making me a Jew. Literally, like, if she hadn't, I would be Christian born because it's a woman, right? So in my mind, I guess religiously, I don't think any one group has it all right. I think that there are little bits and truths in like every different religion, and that we're not meant to be told what it actually is, because I don't think man knows. I think they have to search for it, I guess, or something. And we're not doing that. We're just letting a preacher like tell us what it is, and we don't look further into it. And we're just like happy because we went to church once a week or whatever, temple. And so I don't really go to temple or church. I go to temple on the holidays with my dad. And well, we go to some like events and stuff, but my dad's like the president of the brotherhood, so I kind of have to be like the president's daughter and like be supportive. But they're cool because I don't feel pressured for anything there. They don't want you. You know what I mean? Like, they're not trying to recruit people at all. You have to like beg to get in there. You have to go back like 3 different times before they freaking like tell you, okay. And then you have to go through like classes and stuff. Like, it is not easy. So I applaud anybody that did that. I wouldn't have. But I was supposed to have a bat mitzvah, and
Didn't do it.
I started studying for it, and then I told my dad, like, I can't like honestly get up on a stage and say I believe this thing that I don't really feel like I'm old enough or like know enough about to even believe it, you know? And so he was probably super disappointed, but whatevs, that's what I felt like. And yeah, so like religion to me has always been more of like a feeling, and I haven't really delved into the words. So I guess I'm like more woo-woo about it, if you want to say that. But I'm intrigued when people tell me about the word and stuff, and like I'll look
It's
stuff
still
up.
echoing.
Echoing?
Yeah.
Damn it. Hold on. Is it better?
Talk again.
La 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 la.
I can hear like slight feedback. Billy, do you hear it?
That last part sounded good.
I literally have to hold it up to my mouth. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, I told you we just need a new one.
We'll get you. Yeah, we'll get you a new microphone.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Sorry, Lorna. Technical difficulties.
All good.
I'm sorry.
It's fine. Not horrible. It's tiny echo. Yeah.
Yeah. Now I hear it. I'm
I
echoing.
just remember we didn't hear it on the call, but when we were doing the editing, it was sometimes it was loud. It was blatant sometimes.
Okay. Well, I'll talk like this maybe.
Oh.
Is that okay? I feel
Yeah,
like a
you
sex
can
phone
be like,
operator.
yeah, like the whisperer
The
on the.
soft and sensual one.
Hey guys.
But
No, that's like writing into like what's her face?
no, just like when somebody's like
you're-
an author calls in and they're talking about their book, it's just real quiet, like librarian
Yes.
type stuff.
There's a podcast
soft.
called True Murder that I listen to at night to go to sleep.
Oh, that guy's voice.
He is so peaceful.
He's so boring.
Like, yes, but
He's so
he
boring.
interviews authors of true crime books.
Wow.
So it is interesting, but I fall asleep because he's very peaceful sounding.
All right, you sound good now.
Okay. Basically, that's me. I have 4 kids. Me and
Yeah.
Earl met. Oh, that's kind of interesting. Okay, so I know Billy because he is my daughter's dad's what my daughter's dad used to call his adopted brother. Is that what you call him, Billy?
Yeah, he was in trouble growing up, around 14 years old, and him and I were friends. He had just kind of moved into the school, and he didn't know anybody, and I, kind of him and I started hanging out or whatever, and then he started coming over to the house, and one day my parents went and got him, and he never went back home, and then he left
Wasn't
the
it because
house.
his dad was like beating him?
Yeah, well, they couldn't get along. They were like fighting. They would beat each other up. I don't never know, the whole story. I don't know, but I know he was like this grown man was attacking a 14, 15-year-old kid, which is not okay. You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, he showed up. He had like scratches on his neck on the bus and stuff, and it was. He had a very rough go at it coming up. So,
dude probably knew how to fight.
He did, man. He would throw down. He wasn't scared of anything. So
yeah,
it was crazy. He's something.
I know Billy, basically. He's been in my daughter's life more than her dad has. So that's pretty cool. He's kind of like he's family.
Uncle, yeah.
Yeah, Uncle Lee.
I'm an uncle. Yep.
Uncle Grandpa. Just kidding. And then Earl and I met on Kick because we were both being like sluts on the internet, and he lived like in Grand Prairie and I was like in Dallas, so he forced me to meet up.
What?
I'm just kidding. Not okay, but I tried to say no like 2 weekends in a row, and then I finally said yes.
Aw, that's sweet.
And then he never left my house.
Aw, I love it.
And then we had one kid in 2019. His ex ran off with his son for a year and a half, so we like had to fight to get him, and we got him back in October of 2019. Oh, I have a 12-year-old daughter. That's the one we're talking about with Billy. Not with Billy, but with Billy. You know what I mean? Okay.
Yeah. I got you.
And then one we had in February of 2019. His son came back in October of 2019, and we had a baby June of 2020.
Wow.
So in like a year, we had 3 more kids in that house.
Yeah.
And they're not even Catholic.
No, but my tubes are tied thanks to your sister. So, oh my God. Dude, it's so cool that she's delivered my babies. It's amazing. It's like the coolest thing to me.
That's really cool. Yeah, I'm always impressed by her. She's
the most amazing person. All of y'all are really. Julia is like amazing. Elna is so intimidating. She scared the shit out of me for so long.
She's such a cornball.
She scares
me. But she has a quiet personality. That's all. She's very serious, but she's so goofy to me.
That's so funny because to me, I was so scared of her for so long, and finally, I was like, okay, Okay, I think she's like cool with me. I'm not sure, but
She's
I
cool
hope
with everybody. Like she just sort of like is always, I don't know. She's just very
she just
interesting.
comes off as serious.
Yeah, she comes across as serious because she's just always thinking about stuff, but it's not because of other people. It's just her.
Right.
You know,
Like
she
her
just,
mind is elsewhere.
yeah, her mind is just always like drifting somewhere else, and but she's so silly.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I am.
She had the
Like,
longest, most beautiful natural hair
Oh,
I
yeah,
had
her
ever
hair's-
seen.
She has such pretty hair. She takes very good
Literally.
care of it. When
Yes,
she
she
was
does.
she was younger. She was
Oh,
just
until
so,
I met Madison.
oh,
And then,
yes. Oh yeah.
holy shit, dude.
She has
Did
so
she
much
tell
hair.
you about the story where I used her as a demo?
No.
Okay, so I pride myself in being able to like straighten ethnic hair with a round brush from the root, you know, like the right way, not going back in and try to flat iron a fucking
Right.
curl out at the root because it
Yeah.
doesn't work.
Right.
So I was like asking Elna if I could use Madison as my demo model, but I had never seen her before. Okay.
oh, wasn't she the one with like the mile of hair?
Oh my
Oh
gosh,
my
yes.
God.
You didn't see her
It's
before?
And Elna even goes like when they show up, she's like, if you want to do mine instead, like, you know, we can do that. And I was like so prideful and like, no, I got this, right? It took me fucking like 2.5 hours with 3 people helping me because I was like, I can't sit here and do this for like
Her hair is so thick
Wow.
and long. It is
it
so heavy.
was so thick, dude. Holy shit. Plus, I went about it the complete wrong way. I finally got it down to like an hour and a half, but like that girl's got hair down to the
Well,
ground.
I give you lots of props because no one can do her hair. Like when I feel like I heard, but I didn't know that that's what had happened. I just saw Madison's hair afterward, and they were like, "Yeah, Drew is amazing. She can do anything." I was like,
Julia
yes.
always tells me that
You're not
like
wrong.
when I whipped out a round brush, she was like, oh my freaking God, like seriously, this bitch is gonna round brush my hair. And I was like, but that's the way I do it because it does like the tension and like the heat and it
No,
smooths it
I've
out.
only heard amazing things about you, and I was
Uh,
like, why can't I make it in time to have Drew do my hair?
Oh my God, well, now I do mobile, so like I can come to y'all whenever you're in town.
Okay,
Not to
cool.
Canada though.
No, yeah.
I have 4 kids that
No,
I could
babe,
use a
don't do
break
it.
from,
Don't
and
leave me
so
here.
I might do it for free if you just get me out there.
No, tell her no.
Canada,
Yes.
I barely got into this country on a wing and a prayer. They're not letting Americans come into the country.
Okay, maybe
Oh,
California when
man.
you get back.
So they
Is it because of the COVID thing?
yeah, they
Okay.
feel like Americans aren't doing their due diligence, and they've gotten their numbers down pretty good, and so they're like, you guys are going to come mess our stuff up.
Which is not
Okay.
wrong.
So-
We do that.
So they're like, unless you're an essential employee, how my husband is considered an essential employee. So
We need television.
we latched onto him, and we were like, we're coming with you.
Yeah.
That's awesome. No, it's good to be together.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing. It was
Wait,
more,
babe, you should
more
say
of that.
something about you, especially religiously.
Okay. Thought we were gonna be able to just skip over that one.
Nope.
Don't.
You have to do it.
All right, so I was born in '92.
Baby.
When all right, so my mom was 16 when I was born, but she was in jail when I was born, and they did not transfer her to a hospital, so I was born in the hospital wing of the jail,
Mm,
and
mm.
I think they said like initially I was put into the foster care system for like a few days or something until her parents came and picked me up.
Okay.
After she got out, she took me with her, and I just lived with her for her and my dad. And then my dad left when I was 3. That was right after or right before my first brother was born.
Mm.
Your first brother?
Well, okay, sorry, my brother. And then I got two little sisters that were born after him.
That's
But
fine.
so he left. He was like 19, 20. He was just they were both gang members, and they were Bloods, and we lived in LA, and
Wow.
but we were homeless. We didn't like sometimes we would stay at one of their friends' house, or we were always walking. We were not like every day. That's I remember like all my memories from back then were if it was daytime, we were walking. Like we were always walking somewhere. And we would stay at like shelters, whenever we could get in. Like the Boys and Girls Club used to help out a lot, especially like during the day. It gave us just hours to put our time away, during the day where we weren't just having to, because it was wild out there. Like it was the aftermath of the Watts riots and the Rodney King riots, and like the mentality out there was so like, I know that white privilege is a very real thing and very relevant, but just like my personal life experience, like when I was growing up, and it's a very different thing when you're not the majority in your society, like where you live, in your community, when you're one of the minorities. Like I was a homeless white kid. There wasn't a whole bunch of us, walking around out there, and black people out there just did not like white people at the time. Like just with what the times were,
Yeah.
and it was very understandable. I totally get it. Like I remember, man, I remember singing so much fucked up shit, but I can understand it. Like I'll just chop it all up to say, like, I don't blame anybody for having any of the views they had back then. Uh, I didn't necessarily have an easy walk, because of where I was at, but also because the choices that my parents had made, and that's kind of on them too. But we stayed kind of like in that's how we lived until I was about fucking, I don't know, I want to say 6, and my mom met my sister's dad. And I remember I think we went to live with them off and on, but we kept getting kicked out. uh there ended up being this huge custody battle between my mom and my sister's dad. And by the time both my sisters were born, we were still living in Cali, but I think we were in Orange County.
Mhm.
And my sister's dad just put us all on a plane one day and like brought us to Texas. Didn't tell my mom nothing. We didn't have contact for like 2 or 3 years. And I'm trying to remember all these details, but I'm trying to make it quick too.
It's all good. Take your time.
Religion was never like, when we came to Texas. We stayed with my sister's dad's parents, and that was up in Denton, Texas. And they had, big 2-story house. They had already established themselves. They were fully well-adjusted adults with their own 401ks and shit going on. It was nothing I was used to at all. Like it was just a total fucking like, I saw people being animals, like that was what I was used to. Like I was, and we got there, and it was a shock for me, and it took a lot of time to like actually adjust to like not having to look over your shoulder, not they're just habits and things, that you develop when you're like surviving, when like every now, like you never know, someone might attack somebody right next to you, and you don't know if that person's fucking crazy. Like you're a kid, you're smaller than everybody, you're not strong enough to do anything. So to you, like all you can do is run, and you just gotta be more watchful than everybody else. And that's what I went to Texas with. And
Wow. That's intense.
it was, oh man, it was like when it came to religion in their house, there was no, like, it was so fake. It was only for like the holidays, or like if we needed something, that was what we did on Easter, was we went to church and we went and did the Easter egg hunt at the church, because they went to some big ass mega church up there in Denton. And church only became a thing that like needed to be the focus whenever my grandma or my sister's grandma would, like, I guess, just get too fed up with life and need something to blame. And like it was, our life's terrible because we stopped going to church, and that's when all our problems started again. And so that's what religion was like in their house. And I stayed there till I was 15. and my sister's dad and my mom ended up going back to court, and they lost custody, and we all had to go back and live with my mom when I was 16. So all four of us, we went and, or when I was 15, all four of us, we go back to Grand Prairie, and that's where she's staying at the time. And she's married to like some youth minister, but he's like heavily, he was just fully fucking Southern Baptist. Like nothing could convince this dude of anything other than like what he had grown up learning. No amount of reason or any kind of question he couldn't answer. Like there was just it, and if you question him on too many things that he couldn't answer, he would get frustrated and it would turn into anger, and like he wouldn't even give you explanations. It was just like shut your trap, shit like that.
Whoa.
He wouldn't cuss. That was the thing, but he
Right,
would be
right,
so
right.
aggressive with like the like the don't question me, shut up, like you don't need to know anything, like and the problem that it made inside me, and this might be like a thing that I've held on to, but I also think it's not very wise to like when everything goes back to you just got to have faith. Like whenever there's a question or something doesn't make sense, the answer is there. It's got to be. It's somewhere. It can be found through some means. But to just anything that you can't figure out, you just got to chalk it up to believe it anyway. Like it just never sat right with me, and so me and him never got along. We always would like butt heads. But I've always been interested. I was always like a conspiracy theorist growing up, like as a teenager and as a kid, and like early on, I remember like everybody that I looked up to or thought that was cool, as a kid, were like really bad influences. The people that were around. But the kind of stuff that we're into was like, the punk rock from back in the day, or like whatever. It was like uh the millennials of today getting into the hip hop of yesterday, but it was back then. And
Mm.
because it was like early 20-year-olds and shit that I was seeing, because that's what age my parents or my mom was, and those are the kind of people she was hanging out with. And so it was a lot of like fuck the system, the government, this and that, like, and that's what I brought with me. So and I apply, and I've always been real smart, so I apply like I think that there's a scientific answer to every religious question. I think everything works hand in hand. There's just sciences and systems of measurement that we just don't know about yet. But if we knew these kind of things, if we knew fully understand some of the sciences that we have ideas about, I think we could definitely explain all this shit. Everything is very easily answerable. If it happened, it happened, and it can be explained, and it can be proven, and it can be spoken about. But growing up with Lee, the Baptist guy that my mom was with, we went to a lot of different churches because there came a time where like he lost his job, and he needed to find a new church. So we were like, man, all over fucking DFW, just like ev different denominations too. It was all Christian, but it was all like he would go to church after church after church, and we would all have to go with him because we're his family, and so we got to put on the face. And even though this motherfucker is not my dad, like he's not my sister's dad, he is he's just some fucking guy, and we had to come live here. Like none of us have these views, like none of us think this. But we all had to go do this shit. And i got i I took what I could out of it. I listened to like all the different pastors from all the different churches we went to. I would talk to them if I got the chance. I would ask them some of the questions that I couldn't get answered before. And 9 times out of 10, it always came back to, well, that's son, when you just got to have faith. And it seemed to me the same thing when like CBS and CNN and Fox just repeat the same shit over and over again. To me, it was like, if you don't have an answer for something, you just revert back to the comfort zone so that you're not left with the fear of the unknown. And I'm not cool doing that. Like I'm okay sitting in the unknown and wherever whatever that fear leads me to for a little bit, because I know like, man, I'm an intellectual. I can think my way out of an intellectual crisis. But it doesn't have to go back to like, fuck it, just believe it. You know, that's but that's what I got out of most of the churches that I went to and listened to people at. And over the years, I've just I delved into my own research. I've read a lot. And that's where I started connecting my own dots. And because I with the time we spent, my mom was with Lee until I think I was like, shit, 22, 20. No, I was like 20 maybe. So we were around him a good 5 years, doing what he does. So I got a pretty good education on the Bible from their perspective. But I had already been semi interested. I read a lot more, during that period. And that's kind of where I get the majority of like what I know from the Bible, because I didn't like I had to really know this shit. I listened to this guy's lesson plans like over and over again, because we had to, because he was at home preparing for, the shit he was going to say when we get to church. And then I'd listen to it at church and hear all the discussion going on. But I'd already have like, I've been listening to this all week. I've been preparing for this all week. And I would use that. I was a little asshole, man. I would use that as my time to like debate him, like right there in front of everybody. And uh, I've I've just read a lot over the time. My knowledge of what the Bible was comes from that. I know it's not complete, but I've also, I mean, I read a lot of the texts that were taken from King Solomon's Temple, the writings of Thoth that were put on the emerald tablets, the Hopi doctrines. I read most of the Apocrypha. I started the Kabbalion. I didn't finish it. Um, there's there's a lot of other stuff, that doesn't even really necessarily have an official name. It's just, things I've managed to read and think, well, this is bullshit. This is not. And I kind of share the same belief that Jen does. I think the truth is spread out. I think over time, over, the entire world, maybe enough clues have been given as to, that would point to one single thing that is the truth over everything else, and just squash all the other theories. But I don't necessarily think that's exactly how it is. I know that, if you're going to bring physics into it, then every, relativity has to matter as well. And then there's also that thing with the placebo effect and the power of belief and thoughts, and that whole manifestation of frequency that we can do. And if I put all these dots that I've connected, or, gathered over time, and start connecting them in order, it appears to me that, yeah, the truth is completely spread out over too far a distance to maybe in one lifetime for one person to try and gather up. And I mean, I would love it if the story of the Bible from beginning to end was just an accurate depiction of history, and it was just an account. But that itself has been changed too many times over the course of history. And who am I to say, that all the real important parts have been kept? Like, who am I to say that like the message hasn't been shifted based on who was in control of taking what out? I can't say that they didn't have their own agenda, because men are men, and we all do. So there's to me, like, if there's so many things that always go back to like, well, you just got to have faith. If there's still no proof of, why certain things were taken out, who can even tell me like what was the purpose of taking out most of the book of Enoch? Because without taking the rest of the Apocrypha out, that didn't need to be taken out. But you had to start taking books out for a reason. And why can't that just be like, oh, you just got to go back to faith on it? Like, I just have to believe that these men were not men with agendas.
Billy wants to say something so bad.
No, I'm good. Not because, I mean, there are agendas and things have happened. People make a lot of bad decisions for money, but we're not here to talk
Do you think
about that yet.
Catholics
What?
are like the Antichrist?
No.
Well, Adventists do, definitely, for
Well,
sure.
Oh yeah, they do. Yeah.
Really?
You know,
Really?
Didn't
Adventists
Christianity?
do. Adventists definitely believe that. They believe that Catholics are for sure the Antichrist.
The
They believe that-
beast.
yeah, they
Yep.
believe that all things will come down because of the Catholic Church, and that they hardcore believe.
Do we disagree?
I mean, I don't know. I'm not.
Well, here's what
I too agree. It's so funny that you guys are saying this, but I too agree that, and I say this all the time. I said it to a writer's room that I was on, a few years ago, and I think we're all touching an elephant. I think we're all like between the Indian texts. When you talk about like all the texts you've read, you look at the Indian text, you look at the Muslim text, you look at the biblical text, you look at all of them, they're all overlapping. A lot of them say the same things. A lot of them talk about a great flood. All of them do. All of them talk about a great flood. So what are we to think? A great flood probably happened. Why? it's not in the sphere of our imagination to conceive of a great flood covering the whole face of the earth. But is it possible? I don't know. God is pretty freaking big. He might have made a great flood cover the whole earth. Who are we to say it did not happen? But I do think, I think that my personal view on it, is just that, like you guys said, I think we're all touching the same thing, but I think it's all about purpose. What is the purpose of these texts? Is the purpose of the text for us to understand every single facet of Earth? I've read a lot of physics, read a lot of science. I really enjoy physics. I enjoy mechanical science stuff where they get to talking about different things and all these theories that have yet to be explained. They don't know. They don't even understand gravity. They have to throw out E equals mc squared. They have to throw that whole thing out and then come back to it all over. At one point, they said everything Einstein said was a bunch of shit, and a lot of other scientists, a lot of other physicists have since debunked some of them, but then they had to come back and realize, oh, the theory of relativity, oh, he's still right. Like, it makes no sense. The reality is no one knows. No one knows. And
That's probably
yes, I say that all the time. Nobody
my
knows
favorite
the
part.
fucking truth.
People are trying to grasp at straws to understand God, and who you will never get there. We don't even live long enough to understand what dimension we're on. Like, if there are multiple dimensions, like we don't know anything. When I learn about science and space, like my husband's obsessed with science.
Me and Billy were talking about this.
Okay.
But when you think about it, it's just like, we're so small.
Right.
But are we? See, okay. Can I ask you a question and you're either going to go like, what the fuck? Or
no, I will not. I'll be like, cool.
How do you feel about flat Earth?
About what?
Flat Earth.
Well, I mean, I think there's enough telescopes and different devices to where you can see that the Earth is round. I mean, even I was up in a plane, just going to Toronto, and I was like, whoa, you can really see the horizon. You can literally see the curvature of the Earth when you're high up. I mean, it's not, I think if you're on a plane and you look down, you're like, okay, the Earth is curved. Like, I don't think that's anything that anybody can, I don't know.
Going where?
Toronto.
I mean, when I was going from California to Toronto, like looking, I just literally like, and this is just now. And I was like, because I've been thinking about flat Earth, which is funny you mentioned that.
Okay,
because my children are obsessed with science, as I and I've kind of got that way. My husband is too, and we bought a telescope. We have a giant freaking observatory style telescope, so I can categorically say the Earth is round.
Okay, see, I flew from Texas to Nevada.
Mm-hmm.
And there and back, and I was looking, man. I was really making sure it was flat, or the horizon wasn't curved. Like, and I was really, really trying to.
I think it depends on elevation too. They're not gonna, every plane, depending on where it's going, isn't gonna go as high because there's too many planes in the air.
Yeah, that's why I asked. From Cali to.
Yeah, and even when you talk about a transatlantic trip, when you go, say, like we just went to Iceland. Like, there's a definite curve. It's not a flat piece of land. I mean, I mean, even if you're talking about an astronaut, I mean, even if they didn't land on the moon or did land on the moon, they're up there. I mean, SpaceX is a real thing. We went there. I think there's a lot of interesting things about science and about life, but I mean, again, whether the earth is flat or round, what is the purpose of it all? Like, what is the purpose? Isn't the purpose just to be good to people? Isn't the purpose just to live a good life?
Yeah, I mean,
isn't the purpose just to follow, I mean, I'm not knocking your question. I think it's a fine question. I don't have an opinion. I just think the earth is round, that's all. But and who am I to say if somebody else wants to say it's flat? Okay, that's great.
Right.
But I just think that the purpose of it all isn't necessarily for me to know every single answer. I don't care for a lot of things. Like, I think when people say, oh, you just got to have faith, really what they want to say is, I don't care. That's really what they should say. Like, I don't care. Okay. Like, if they were honest, if they were really honest, they'd be like, I don't care. That's outside of my purview. Because really, when people start getting into all this minutia, I'm like, I don't care. It doesn't affect my children. It doesn't affect my husband. I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? Like, all I care about are the people that I love. How can I be better on earth? How can I be more effective? how can I move my life forward in an effective way? How can I move everybody I touch in a better way? That's all I care about. Everything else is white noise. So I think people do a disservice when they get angry. He shouldn't have gotten angry at you. He shouldn't have gotten angry. I don't know. That's for God to know. I don't care. Let's like be honest about where you are. That's for me. That's how I feel. I'm like, I don't like, okay, my car broke down. I got into a car accident at one point. I thought I was going to die. I was like, okay, I don't care. Nothing else matters. Am I going to live or die? Like, you know what I mean? Like you just kind of whittle it all down. And that's how I kind of live. That's my golden rule. That's how I live my life. I just whittle it all down. Like, what is it that my brain needs to compute to get through life? And obviously what you need is something very different. And if you need those answers, then I am absolutely certain God will put the people in your path so that you can find them. I fully believe that. I fully believe whatever you're seeking, you will find. I just know that.
Okay, ultimately, you're seeking true freedom in life. You want to be completely free to go about and do the things you wish to do, not affecting anybody in a negative way, but you want to go out and help people and be nice and those kinds of things. But you want to be free to do whatever you want to do.
There's no such thing as freedom, so I don't want to, split hairs about it, because I think we all have to follow rules and we all have to live within this little box that society has set for us. I think that, loving, if I see a homeless kid, can I feed that child? Can I help put that child in a better situation like what you did? Can I do that for somebody? If somebody's having a bad day, can I find the right words to make them feel better? If somebody's going to kill themselves, can I say, or can I steer, or can God use me to do something to be of service to somebody else? That's what I care about. So it's not necessarily like, oh, I just want to go about my life and do, like, I want to be of service to other people. I just want to be able.
But you want to be free to do it in the way you see fit, like that fits your beliefs. You see what I'm saying? And somebody else doesn't get to tell you how you get to live your life. You get to make the decision because you make your moral decisions, right? Like you base all of your decisions off of a belief system that you have, or that you were taught by your family.
Yeah, I just want to be. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, what you consider as a decent person.
I mean, I'll help somebody who doesn't like me. So
Well, no, that's fine. No, I'm just saying the code that you live your life by and what you want ultimately in life. It's like, sounds like you want the freedom to like live your life, raise your family. You want to have a successful life and teach your kids and watch them grow up and they get to see your grandkids. You just want a normal human life.
Yes, the pursuit of happiness. There it is.
There you go.
There it is. Yes. So you are indeed correct. The pursuit of happiness. I would like to pursue that.
Yes.
Without obstruction.
Okay. And that will lead perfectly into the next question then.
Oh, man.
All the setups.
How?
I felt it was a setup, but
well, yeah,
it's totally fine.
There's always a purpose.
So, but okay, with that in mind, how do you see like the state of the world? How do you see that impacting your idea for the future?
I mean, the world. I mean, in terms, that's a big question because historically we're kind of we're not in the same place, but we are. I did a deep dive and I looked at this. I listened to this audio of this slave of this 1930s, this white gentleman, and I lost track of his name. He did in 1930s, went to talk to all of the ex-slaves because they were still alive, and talked to
older by then. That would be
actually not so old. A lot of 50s because you're talking 1930s, and it's not that far away. That's the misconception about it all. It's like time.
Yeah, it was like 90 years ago.
It's not that long ago, there was one gentleman who was probably the oldest. He was 101. He was the guy who you see with the picture with all the scars on his back. He talked to him. He was alive in 1930. You know what I mean?
That's crazy.
And there was another woman who was like in her 50s, another one was in her 40s. But in any case, he talked to all of them and he wanted to understand what had happened. And he also wanted to say, I'm different. I want to give you this. I want to give you your freedom. I want you to have this. I want you to have that. And the gentleman said, you still have the disease. You think you're cured, but you still have the disease. I was born a human being. I was born a human being. It's like, you can't give me something that God didn't already give me. But what you can do and what you are doing is depriving me of having the things that God said I should have. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So and he said it, which was so fascinating because it's 1930s. He was like, you have your cops, you have your jobs. So you can deprive me of certain things, but you can't stop me from being a human because I'm already that. And so that is the situation that we still live in. That is why I say it's changed, but it's not, because those things that deprive people of pursuing life, liberty, still exist. And for people like me and for other people like me, yeah, we've managed to rise above it. My husband has managed to rise above it. We're both first generation immigrants. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, because we did not experience I went to college with a woman who, her father was a slave. College, her father was a slave in Texas. So imagine growing up with that. So there's a hatred there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so she struggled. I mean, she had a lot of white friends, but she definitely struggled. And so that informs a lot of people who live in a home with a grandparent who actually, and you have them still alive. A pastor I know, he pastors in Tennessee.